It's no wonder then that they sang about him in the early church, "Let the same mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus, who was in the form of God, yet did not regard equality with God as something to be grasped, but emptied himself, taking the form of a servant of all." Still, for me, the search continues. I'm a human being, after all, so I need more than words, more than metaphor. I'm like the kid who would not go to sleep because he was afraid of the dark and begged his mother to stay with him. And finally she said, "You don't have to be afraid. God is always with you." "But I want a God with skin," he cried. That's why I need Jesus' face to show up in people too. And those who have touched me person to person, skin to skin, with some of those qualities that Jesus shows us in the Gospels. My mother, for example, who always loved me unconditionally. Or Rob, a young African-American man and state champion wrestler who asked my lost young teenage self if I knew that God loved me, then showed me that God loved me with a warm hug from a stranger whom I admired. Or my pastors and mentors, Jack Samuel, Cherry Livingston, and Kate Latimer, all of whom turned their faces toward me with the love of God and the healing compassion of Christ. So I feel like I've seen glimpses of that face shining in the faces of others I have met. I feel like I've seen it in you too, and I'm not just trying to schmooze with you. In all the ways that you care for one another, accept one another, and offer forgiveness to one another, forgiveness just for being human. I see the face of Jesus turn toward me when you so freely give your time and money and energy to feed those who are hungry or offer hospitality to those who are homeless. I see it in your passion to confront injustice and speak up for those who have no voice. So here among you, probably more than anywhere else, I have seen that face, God's face with skin on it, Jesus' face, still turned toward the world. Still the search, still the longing continues, still the looking over my shoulder in the sense that I'm missing something obvious. I think it has to do with that great Christian mystery that the one whose face shines with the light of God for us is also the crucified one, the all too human one, the victim of injustice who suffered under Pontius Pilate, who was crucified, brutally executed by the Roman Empire, who died and was buried like any one of us. That face, that wounded face, that tortured, pain-filled face is hard to look upon. Yet that face, too, is present in our midst. When did we see you, they will ask at the end of time. When? I was the one who was hungry on your doorstep, Christ will answer. I was the mentally ill one who was in your county jail. I was the homeless one under the bridge. I was the sick one, the lonely one, the one who could not afford clothing. I was the stranger, the refugee, the undocumented outcast. In all of them, you see me. And whatever you do to the least of these brothers and sisters of mine and of yours, you do to me. Now this is hard to grasp. Even harder to hold on to than those shining moments of divine meaning, beauty, and love. To see the face of Christ in those who suffer and those who are in need and those who are oppressed by the powers of death still at work in this world is counterintuitive for us. Like Peter on the mountain, it's the glory that appeals to us and the glory we want. Let's build a beautiful tabernacle here. Let's capture this sublime moment of feeling the warmth and comfort of the divine presence. Let's not go down there. Let's stay right here. So we do, all too often. And we fail to see that Jesus is moving on. Christ is long gone, down the mountain and out into the world, down and out where those who suffer still wait for that face to show up in someone willing to speak up for them, or simply to speak to them, for someone to lean down to care for them, or simply join them on their knees, for someone, anyone, to turn a face toward them with the love of God and the healing compassion passion of Christ. Beloved, we are God's children now. What we will be has not yet been revealed. What we do know is this: we are called to be like him.